flying, motor gliding, moving on the ridge real low, looking like a streak of lightning. If you gotta go, go, motor gliding. Listen to me and I'll tell you no lie. Too fast to turn, too low to climb. I got a cool machine and everybody say, whew, takes your breath away, motor gliding. Okay, well, welcome back everybody to the final clip number 12 in a series of 12 clips covering a 427k competition cross-country flight done in Condor simulator software in March 2021. 23 competitors started, only 4 finished, so it was a difficult task. I didn't fly in the competition, but I flew it a little while later, managed to get round just. It was very difficult, and I went very slowly, but I did get there. And then when I started doing these YouTube videos, I thought it'd be great to actually put this one on, even though it's long, just for the diehards and shit and that kind of thing. But I hadn't kept a replay. So I thought, well, I can load the flight track from 2021 and follow my ghost round, because Condor you can load up a previous flight and it appears as a glider on the screen. And so we did, and we flew formation on the first leg and it nearly landed me out. But by turning point 4, I knew that on my original flight, it hadn't gone very well after that. And I wanted to try and do it my own way. So I went my own way. And I've just in the last clip met my ghost coming out of the mountains way behind me. So it was a good decision. I've flown the task faster this time at 82 kph. But to put it in perspective, the competition winner flew it at 131 kph. They were carrying full water ballast. I'm not carrying any. And also for me, as a novice really pretty much at this kind of thing, and because of the way I am, I wanted to stay higher where I could, have a bit more time to enjoy the view, explore things a bit more, even though perhaps it wasn't the best thing to do in terms of just getting on with the task. So I'm very pleased to have got round at the speed I did and to just have got round. So that was really that. The wind is blowing at 295 degrees at 21 knots, which means, where are we facing now? Yeah, we're very slightly east of north. So pretty much that wind's going to be coming from our port wing. So if we look at the slopes here, there's lots of opportunities for staying up. Our final turning point 6, is off to our right a bit. I don't think it's that far off. I don't know why it's probably only about there, I think. So without any more ado, let's get going. Right, off we go. Nice to enjoy the landscape as well. North Wales is a lovely place. Well, Wales is a lovely place, actually. Lots of it is. So putting the nose down, I must have been flying a bit slower because I was in some lift I wanted to soak up, perhaps. We're 26 kilometres from turning point 6, and anticipated if we carry on like this to get there, we're at about 1,100 feet. But of course there's plenty of lift opportunities between here and there, and no doubt we'll be taking them. And then once we've rounded turning point 6, it's a downwind run back to Llewini Parc, the airfield the task started from. Llewini Parc is the base of Denbigh Gliding Club, where the chief flying instructor and manager is a guy called Chris Gill, who hosted this task back in March 2021. I think the author of the task was someone different, I think I saw on the Condor files, but Chris has been a real groundbreaking pilot for exploring this part of the world. He used to fly a DG 1001, I think it is. It was a DG with a pop-up motor. Similar performance to this Duodiscus that we're in. But he now flies an Arcus 4M, and with all these various tools at his disposal, he's done a lot of kind of adventurous, exploring new opportunities flights in North Wales. And in a way, this task was put together using, I'm not sure actually, I'm not sure how it was put together. It might have been put together using what he already knew about what could be done, or to some extent just by looking at the maps and working out in an ideal wind direction and strength what might just theoretically be possible. Right, well, we're enjoying ourselves here. flying ourselves right into this mountain, seeing whether the lift's good enough to blow us over the top of it before we hit it. And it looks like it is. Wow, and there's the landscape, probably, you know, flatter lands in the direction of our Llewini Parc, Denbigh Gliding Club, showing beyond the mountains over there. But meanwhile, obviously, we're having a bit of fun here. I mean, I think this was not strictly necessary, but I just enjoy a bit of wheeling and turning in the mountains, trying to S-turn in the strong lift. Very slow manoeuvring speed there, but we are above the mountain, and it's all quite reliable, so, you know, I just allowed myself that just for the sake of a tight turn. I'm unballasted, so my stalling speed will be, you know, lower than if I was fully ballasted. And of course, this is Condor, so quite how accurately Condor replicates the characteristics of the real glider is something we could discuss. I think generally Condor is a bit kinder to the pilot, both in the characteristics of the plane and in the lift that is offered on bits of landscape. Hey, this is a great view though, this, isn't it? Look at that. I wish I knew where any of this was. Yeah, these are good looking slopes. It's over there simply for the lift, because that lot's got a lot of facing into wind stuff, and boy, you could shoot round that. But we are expected at Conway, turning point 6, so we're going to race on towards that. And we do seem to be racing now. Well, by the standards of my flying, anyway. Yeah, and as you can see, I think I mentioned in the last clip, that strip of water there is the Menai Straits, and beyond it is the Isle of Anglesey. And somewhere crossing the Menai Straits is the Menai Straits Bridge, probably where you can see that kind of greyness where I'm looking now, perhaps somewhere like that. And I think it's a Thomas Telford Bridge, is it? Thomas Telford did that bridge, or was it Brunel? I can't remember, I'll have to look it up. We're just romping along in lift here, aren't we? Don't see any issues getting home on this task now. Although I don't seem to have chosen to do it, you can use this PDA to show you what your destination height is likely to be for the turning point beyond this next one, as well as at this next one. I'd have been interested to do that, to see whether even now I might be in a final glide situation. And incidentally, just for non-glider pilots who might happen to be watching this, the term final glide refers to the point at which in the glider you don't need to do any more climbing and lift to get back to your airfield to finish the task, or the finishing point of a task. The airfield, really, because there's no point being on a final glide at minimal height if it's a remote finish, because you've still got to get back to an airfield to land. The final glide really means the height above which you don't need to do any more finding lift to get back to the airfield. Remarkable lift here. It's kind of a little hard to understand quite what we've done to deserve it, but Condor thinks we do, so hey ho. Not a lot to say here really, just enjoy the view. So once we've rounded turning point 6, and bearing in mind we're flying sort of east-northeast at the moment, and the wind is kind of sort of like west-northwest, isn't it, sort of thing or something, and therefore pretty much off of our port wing. And I recall at the beginning of this task thinking we would be flying virtually downwind back to our destination, and we're very close to Conway. I guess we have to look out somewhere in that kind of direction for the way we'll be flying home, I suppose. I can't immediately see anything in that kind of haze out there that helps me to identify, for example, the hills behind Llewini Parc airfield that we first went to establish ourselves on the slope. But the airfield itself is in what's called the Vale of Denbigh, which is, well, it's a vale between the sets of hills. So here we are racing down to turning point 6, the last turning point on this task. And I don't seem to have a huge amount to say on this particular clip. Excuse me, I just need to raise my virtual reality visor there to make sure one of the recording microphones is in place. I wasn't sure if I'd done it, but I had. Yeah, I think at this point I felt a huge feeling of achievement, really, having got round this marathon task. Well, all but got round it. And the things that felt very overawing and frightening at the beginning of this flight now feel like things that I've tamed. See, what's that funny little flashing dot out there, like a boat out at sea or something? No idea what that is. Oh dear. Like some green algae in the water there. I love the way this landscape is stitched together. I'd love to know how they do it. And although it won't be in the same league as the new sort of Microsoft Flight Simulator landscapes, from a gliding point of view, the whole experience with Condor is just so superior compared to the Microsoft offering that I wouldn't for a moment think of bothering with the glider in Microsoft Flight Simulator. And Microsoft Flight Simulator is also much heavier on processing power than Condor, although flying in virtual reality like I am, of course, the VR needs a good graphics card anyway. Yeah, no, I got my direction to the airfield completely wrong there. I thought it was somewhere over there, and it's more over here, nearer the coast than I thought. Yeah, so Microsoft Flight Simulator, I mean, if you tried to do all of what you can do in Condor in it, I would imagine quite a lot of people couldn't join in because their computers weren't powerful enough. But I have meant to get Microsoft Flight Simulator and try it, just to see what it's like, and try it in virtual reality as well. But, you know, time I spend on that is time I don't spend doing more flights in Condor, so I never really get round to it because I love Condor so much. And also, I suspect that even if the rendering of the landscapes is better and more detailed in Microsoft Flight Simulator, you're a bit limited in virtual reality by the resolution of your VR headset. And I suspect that will be the limiting factor even in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So, and I want to fly in VR because to me flying in VR is where I really do feel like I have been able to go to a real world somewhere else and have all the familiar sensations of flying a glider that have always made me love gliding so much. Even though I've done a lot less of it than many people, but still, at least I've done some. Very privileged to fly gliders, as those who have will tell you. It's a wonderful thing to have done. So here we are, and we're anticipated to reach the end of the task at 1135 feet at the moment. 26k to go. The wind is pretty much behind us. What could be better? Ordinarily, on a shorter task, I might feel a bit sad at this point that the sheer joy of it is will soon be over and we'll be landed. But much as I still felt that on this task, I think after you've sort of spent over 5 hours with the hood on, and it's in real time, by this time it was about 3 o'clock in the morning or something, I think I was quite looking forward to getting back on terra firma and brushing my teeth and getting to bed in the real world. But very pleased with myself for having sort of managed to refly the task and save it this time as a replay file so I could start to make these clips. And I've had some fun doing things like flying in formation with my Ghost. And yeah, just to revisit the task and see how I might fly differently. And even when I flew it the second time, I hadn't studied the flight track of the winner of the competition, so I wasn't kind of borrowing any ideas from anyone else. It was still me doing it my way. But I have now looked at the winner's trace, and I might. Well, I suppose if I could do it 3 hours of it, it wouldn't be such a horrendously long flight. I might have a go at doing it with full water and at speed and see whether I can pull it off. I think it's quite likely I'll fail because I think you've got to know what you're doing. You don't want to be going faster than you're capable of. I think, though, that perhaps what I am learning, and I know it on one level, but knowing how to actually do it. But I think what I'm learning really is that when you're dealing with a task like this that's got a lot of slope lift, and if it's been set up the way this has, so there's overall there are plenty of windward slopes to be getting along on, even if some of them are low. I think really the strategy of flying with full ballast and storing energy in the glider in many ways might be better than the way I'm doing it, because you fly fast on long stretches that will allow you to maintain altitude at speed. You've got a lot of energy stored in the glider. You could pull back at 90 knots and I don't know what you might gain. You might gain 1,000 feet, if funny, so you can then use that to cross a gap and go back into an area of lift, and you'll get around the task an awful lot faster. When I've flown with full water ballast on cross countries that involve thermaling, the problem has been that the glider in Condor, as in real life presumably, I've not done much having control of a glider with full water ballast in real life. A little bit in the 2018 two-seater comps, where I kind of flew a fair bit of one of the days, but not a lot. But in Condor, when you fly with full water ballast, the stall speed of the glider goes up, the handling goes down, it becomes slower to respond, and basically, and it doesn't climb as well in thermals. So, you know, you sacrifice about like 2 knots of climb or something probably in a thermal. So on many occasions you might end up dumping water ballast because the thermals are not strong enough for you to be having a good time in them if you're carrying full water ballast. So it ends up being better to dump it, even if you're forced to glide at a slower speed between thermals, in order to sort of preserve your height as best you can. But in this kind of situation, in slope lift, and when it's extensive like this, and especially when the slopes might not offer huge boosts of lift, but they extend over a long time, I think flying fast with water ballast probably is the way you should do it. Well, certainly the winner's experience suggests you should. 131 kph is pretty good. Yeah, here we are. You can see now the range of hills. That's the range of hills that we first went on to start the task, and then we flew along to go down to turning point 1 somewhere over there. So we're 11 kilometers out, pretty much. Quite soon we'd be calling up on the radio to Llewini Parc to let them know we were on final glide and to give them an estimate of our time of arrival. It reckons we're going to get there in about 3.5 minutes. And we'd call them again when we're a bit closer, in about 3k out, I think, or 5k and 3k, just to let them know how we're proceeding. And not just to let them know, but to let any other traffic that's listening, because if it was a competition, you'd have several gliders converging on Llewini Parc airfield on a final glide, and it's an idea for each to know where the other is, because they'll well be behind you, especially if you're doing well. They'll be behind you, and you need to watch out when you sort of go race across the airfield and pull up to go into the circuit and land, to make sure there isn't someone racing in right by you who then gets closer to you than they should be. 8 kilometers to go. I try and make it a rule really to arrive at my destination airfield no lower than 500 feet. I don't know what the etiquette protocols rules are in real life and things, but it seems to me that as long as I've got a reasonable amount of energy on board and I arrive at 500 feet, I should be able to pull up into and join at kind of low key, which is to say halfway down the downwind leg. Although of course not really flying that kind of thing anywhere at all here. I expect I shall just overfly the airfield. I'm more or less flying downwind as it is, and then pull up, open out the circuit, and come round in a wide arc to turn onto finals, whilst doing my pre-landing checks to make sure my gear is down and locked and things like that. So we'll call them around now and say we're 5 kilometers out and expect to be overhead at 1 minute 40, and that we're in the direction we're approaching from, of course, which is from the west, well, the west-northwest sort of thing. Yeah, I can just start to see where the little tuft of wool is on the windscreen beyond the little twinkling lights of the runway at Llewini Parc. If you can make that out on your monitors. I Could put the nose down to go a little faster, I suppose, if I wanted, but I suppose I'm not really trying to get every last bit out, because I know I'm not a kind of like a record-breaking flight time anyway. So, oh yeah, putting it down a little bit now. And here we come, guys. The end of a very long cross-country, full of all kinds of challenges. What a great flight! What a great flight! Call them again. 2 kilometres out. Expect to be in their overhead in about 40 seconds. Coming in from the west. And now we're just focused on the job in hand. Quite all this green semicircle is, we haven't actually crossed the finishing line yet, but at some point we will. Very, very soon. Overhead. Somebody's parked up down there. I think that's the Club P21 probably, is it? Oh, that glider was there at the launch point when we took off. So that's us done. You get a loud cheering from Condor when you cross the finishing line, but I guess in the replay it doesn't do that. So we'll now be calling him to say that we're in the circuit, the gear is down on lock, Wolf. So it's water. If we had water ballast, we would have been dumping it on that last bit of the final glide. Undercarriage is down and locked. Loose articles, haven't got any of those, are all okay. Flaps, if we had flaps, we want to check their position, make sure they're okay. Looking out into the turn, looking out of the turn as well to make sure there's no traffic presenting a threat. And here we are. Do we have a little bit of a crosswind on landing? I think we do have a bit of a crosswind on landing, but nothing much. All brakes coming out. Yep, all good. Letting down. Yes, you can see from the way I'm crabbed slightly, there's a little bit of a crosswind. Yeah, we're pointing more or less westerly, and the wind is sort of like more west-northwest, isn't it? So it's a bit off the nose. Perhaps a little bit slow on the approach here, you know, perhaps should maintain 60 knots minimum, but this is Condor VR and it feels okay to me. But no, I think I should be a bit faster in real life. I think I'm also choosing to land a bit of Lincoln. I think I have another last minute thought about just kicking the glide around on the rudder to see whether I can get a view back up the runway, or a good view. Yes, I sort of pull off. I think I try and kick it around. It doesn't go around as far as I want. I'd like you to go a little further because I wanted to watch my ghost coming in. And I stayed here for, well, longer than I should, considering it was 3 in the morning and I wanted to get to bed. There's the end of the replay. Yeah, I wanted to see my ghost come home. But he didn't turn up. And I could only think that the way Condor works is that once you've finished your task, the ghost just vanishes like a ghost and will never arrive. Unless, of course, they were a long way behind me. They could have been quite a long way behind me. I should go at some point and examine the flight times, the task times, and see whether that was what was the case. But either way, I thought it's late. Sure, I'll see them. Well, if I do see them, in they come, and it's all very well. But life's too short, so I left it at that. Anyway, that's the end of these 12 clips. If you've stayed with them all, well done you. I mean, it's a lot of watching, really, isn't it? And you've got to like this kind of stuff to find it interesting. But if, like me, you do find it interesting, I can't get enough of it. I really love it. So that's that for this series of clips. I doubt if I will do anything as long-winded as this again, but I think I will probably try and do other videos of flights. Not sure quite what I'll do. I know one I'd like to do next. I did a little flight in the Lake District with a combination of hill-stroke mountain lift and thermals, and that was in a Schleicher K6CR, which is a wooden glider with a glide angle of about 29-1 or something, I think it is, maybe. It was a K6CR, and I think a plane like that won the World Championship. It's been like 1959. And I can't remember how long it was. Not that long. It might have been 150k or something like that. But I didn't save a replay of that flight at the time. So I think I might refly that one with my Ghost, and that'd be quite nice because we can formation fly with a vintage glider, and make my way around that task again, possibly at some point trying something different from them, hoping I get round if I do. I think I flew it in a reasonable time, actually, for an old wooden glider. Yeah, I might do that as the next video. So, click the like and subscribe buttons, and if I've managed to get the notification bell working on screen by the time you're hearing this, click that to get notified when I do a video clip like that. Meanwhile, look after yourselves. If you do real-life gliding, lucky you. I do miss it, but this is a pretty good kind of substitute when you can't do it. And in the meantime, I'm enjoying flying model airplanes again, which is where I started in the first place. Both power-down gliders. I used to design model gliders. So I'm enjoying that and virtual reality gliding and that, and doing stuff like this, and it's keeping me quite happy. So I hope you're staying happy. Look after yourselves, and as usual, when I take off the visor, it'll look like now we're on the ground. It won't be like bailing out of the aircraft. It'll look a bit like I'm stepping out of the aircraft and falling over on the ground. Right, and a big thank you to Chris Gill, the CFI and manager at Denbigh Gliding Club here at Llewini Parc, for really getting everyone's imaginations alive with what can be done in little old United Kingdom, which is not known for its huge mountain ranges or its great big thermals going to 80,000 feet or anything. I think it probably makes for some good pilots up in the UK because they have to work with relatively challenging and modest stuff. Anyway, okay, look after yourselves and bye for now.
We're here